Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. My name is Oluchi Inwo, and on this channel I talk about building and growing your cake business. I share tips on entrepreneurship, personal development. I do story time and vlogs as well, and you are most welcome. So I'll be doing a story time today, but teaching you as well from my story. So as you have seen from the title, we'll be talking about money cake, the all popular fancy trending money cake. Before you make a money cake, there are things you should know, and I'm here to share my experience and also to teach you from this video. So if this is something you're interested in, then you definitely want to keep on watching. But before that, do not forget to subscribe to my channel, to turn on notifications, and to give this video a thumbs up. If you're a new subscriber, thank you so much for being here. And to my old subscribers, hi, it's good to have you here again. So without further ado, let's jump right into the video. You're welcome back. So like I said, I'll be doing a story time kind of video today, and I'll be teaching you as well. Sometime last year, close to a year now, I had my first money cake experience, my first and only cake experience, money cake experience. Yes, I've gotten inquiries after that to make it, but I have not really been able to close them because I say, okay, this is what I can make, this is how we're going to do it, and this is how it's going to cost. And it has not just worked out. So it's just been once I made that money cake, I've not had the opportunity to do it again. So but I decided to share my experience because most people have it successful, all well and good, but there are some people that don't have it as successful as the others, and I am here to shed light and make you understand and know that there are some things you know before you make a money cake. First of all, the costing is different because it's quite some work. Yes, it's not like a regular cake where you just snap your fingers and before you know it, you have a beautifully decorated cake. It takes some skill, it takes some kind of work to get it working, rolling. You know, as you are pulling out, there's a mechanism in the cake that is rolling out that money for you, rolling out the bills for you. Okay, so it's not something that is really straightforward as such. It's something that requires a process, detailed process that needs to be watertight, else things will go wrong. So last year, like I said, almost a year now, the cake was for the 31st of January, if I can remember. I had the order for my first money cake, and I had made that cake. I had figured out how to make it. I'd watched tutorials. I asked my mentees on my mentorship group. I checked posts online. So it's not like I just jumped into it and went into doing it without doing my research. I took my time to do my research, okay? So I put all those things that I had learned, that I had practiced into the decorating of that cake. I got my film, the nylon, the transparent nylon or the transparent bag for you to put the bills inside, and they were dollar bills. Okay, they were dollar bills. I can't remember how many dollars now, but it was quite a number. The amount of bills was much. Like, we kept putting into this transparent nylons and sealing. It was a lot of work for us to really get that done. It took over 4 hours to put the money together into the transparent nylons and the transparent bag, and to then roll it and then stick everything. You know, you have to, you watch a tutorial so you have an idea of what I'm talking about. Okay, so you have to put these notes individually and then you have to tape them together, okay, so that when you roll, they're coming out together and it won't cut. Okay, so I'd done my work. My staff was busy doing that while I think I was working on the box that would put the bills, the dollar notes inside. And I had finished everything. There were 2 cakes going out actually, so I had sent the cakes off, and not too long after, I got a call from the person that was delivering for me, telling me that it's like the cake is breaking on top, it's like it's cracking on top. I'm like, how? Can you send me a picture? So he sent me a picture, and I saw that it was cracking from the top. Okay, so it's cracked from the top, and then the more, I think he stopped to, I don't know why he stopped, or I told him to stop, because when he sent me the picture, it wasn't looking good at all, and I knew that before the cake gets to the destination, it would definitely fall apart. So I told him to just wait, and that was in Lekki Phase 1. I called my husband, and we drove together to meet him. And a few things were wrong. I think I don't even want to go into details now, but we went there, and I thought it was something that I could salvage on the spot, but it wasn't, obviously, because I went along with some extra supplies. I went with buttercream, I went with my tools, my spray pan, my spatula, everything, thinking that I could fix it and then it could deliver, because the cake was going all the way to the mainland. I stay on the island, and that's quite some hours, so I couldn't fix it. I had to take it back, and I was already shaking. I was jittering. I was tense. I was confused because I didn't even know where to start from. So the more we progressed in our journey heading back to my studio, the worse the cake got. Like the condition became worse, and it was, I think before we go back, it fell apart. Before I go back to my studio, the cake fell apart. But before I arrived at my studio, before I go back to my studio, I had called the client to see this is what is happening. Thank God he was really understanding. He was even telling me to calm down, that I should just relax. I can, just get it sorted first. Okay, so that kind of calmed me down. And then when I go to the studio, when I go back to my studio, I looked at the cake. Like I said, yeah, it fell apart. I think it fell apart before I got back. I was looking at it in the box all through the journey. It was an 8-inch cake. It was a tall cake. So when I got back to the studio, it had fallen apart. It had broken in pieces. It broke, like, I think it had 4 layers or 5. And about 3 or 2 had, like, they just broke. They just broke. And I was very confused. I did not know what to do. But I realized that because I'd been training myself over time, I was calm. And I just was telling myself, speaking to myself, inside, that, panicking is not going to solve this problem. Just sit, relax, be calm. Think of what you can do to fix this now. I was thinking I'd be able to fix it and send the cake off again, but that wouldn't have been possible. No way. So along the line, I just had to plead with the client to allow me to deliver the cake the following day. Remember that day was the birthday, and that was the day I was supposed to deliver in school. Yeah, I was about to her place of work. So I sat down, and somehow I had to pick up myself. That was when I realized that this money, these bills are even too much, safe. It's too much. So I reduced the size. I had to make another box that was smaller. Remember, I said the bills were much, and so that means I had to make a box to accommodate it, a big box that will accommodate it. So that was one of the problems and everything. So I reduced the bills. First of all, my head just told me these things are too much, and this box is too big. So reduce it. So I reduced the dollar bills. I told him that I was going to hand over the remaining to her in cash. I was going to give it to her in cash. So we took them out of the wraps, and then I made use of the little that was remaining, not so little, but a substantial amount, and then made another box, and then did things differently and sent off the cake the following day, and it arrived in one piece. And I have the video, which I would insert. I think I should insert that video. Yes, I'll try to do that so you can see. How it went finally. I was happy. She was really, really happy. I got beautiful recommendations, beautiful compliments, I mean to say, from that cake, from her. And it just made my day. So these are the things that I want you to know before making your first money cake. Don't just say, oh, I've watched YouTube tutorials and I'm good to go. I'm going to make this money cake. It doesn't work like that. Okay, so you want to be mindful about it. I know that people use 8 inches, 10 inches. I've not seen a money cake that is so big that's maybe would be like a 12-inch cake. No, I haven't seen, but I've seen an 8-inch and I've seen a 10-inch. Please ensure that your cake is not overly tall. Okay, first of all, it's the size of the cake. Use an 8-inch. Better still, I would recommend a 10-inch. I'm okay and I'm cool with a 10-inch. Why do I say this? Because you need to carve in the middle of the cake. You need to carve like a square place for the money to, like a square shape in the middle of the cake where the money is going to sit, or where the box is going to sit, where you're going to put it in. And please, I've heard stories of people that just put the money directly. I think maybe it was formerly when the design just started and people started getting to know the design. But please don't put money, bills, clean or otherwise in food in your cake. Ensure that you put it in those wraps before you put it inside the cake. All right, so use a 10-inch cake. That way you can play safe. All right, because when you carve, what I observed of mine was that I carved and it was an 8-inch cake. It was tall. By the time I was done carving the space for that big box to go in, it left me little or nothing to the sides of my cake. So I had thing, it was just like this is my 8-inch cake, and I carved something that it was so big that took a substantial part of my cake, and to the right and the left were just thin. And then I drove a dowel rod through the box coming out from the other end, so that if they roll the money, they pull the money, it can roll, like, it will just keep rolling and then coming out. I think that was a bad idea because the dowel was too long. Yes, I remember now. So the dowel was too long. I should have just kept it flush with the box, or just a little extending out. But the dowel, assuming, what do I use as an example now? Assuming this was the box, pardon my example, okay, my dowel rod extended something like this, and that was too much. So it was just poking the cake. So you want it to be flush, or you want it to just extend a little out of a cake. I'm looking at it so that I don't make a mistake. So you want something that is like this, and not something that is as long as this. So that just further worsened everything for me. So to be on the safe side, use an 8-inch cake, and don't make your cake too tall. Don't make it too tall. If you make a regular, good layered, maybe 6-inch cake, or that will be good enough height. Some people don't even make it tall. If you watch it, you're going to see very low cakes that still have money in them. I don't know how they make them, but I would advise you that you go for a moderate size of cake, so that when you carve, you still have some cake. When I say cake flesh, you still have some cakes by the side to hold, and there's still some structure to the cake. What I did for mine was that at the end of the day, I ended up eating up a good part of the cake, or cutting out a good part of the cake, and there was no structure by the side. So my dowel and everything, both the one that passed through and the one that went vertical and then horizontal, everything just got bad at the end of the day. And like I've mentioned in passing, the second thing I wanted to take note of is the amount of bills. So I had one of my mentees reach out to me, and I sought her permission to share her story. And she had made this cake. I don't know if I can remember exactly, but she made a money cake, and I think the amount she put in it was 100,000, if I'm not mistaken. I would look for that and be sure that I put the correct information, but the amount was too much, and that affected the cake at the end of the day. It just happened recently. I sought her permission, like I said, before sharing this story, so that you would all know. The fact that everybody is having a glamour, you're seeing them dancing and rolling it out on social media, does not mean that it's easy to make. There are things that you should take note of. So the bills were too much, and I told her, if you had reached out to me, I'm so sorry this happened, but if you had reached out to me, I would have advised you not to, because I've experienced it firsthand, and I know that you would definitely run into trouble. So do not use so many bills. How long is the person going to roll that money out for? How long? The person just going to keep rolling and rolling for 10, 15 minutes, 20 years, still there dancing and rolling, because it's too much. It's going to put undue pressure on the cake. It means you're going to have to cut a bigger part of your cake to sit the box or whatever you're going to use to put the money in, and it will just eat up the structure of a cake, like I've mentioned. So use a minimal amount. Don't allow, in our case, she said they put pressure on her. So you don't want to allow anybody put pressure on you and say, oh, wants 50,000 naira in the cake. And you know that it's so much. No, well, that's just a pure recipe for disaster at the end of the day. So in her case, everyone was trying to pull out the money from the cake, everything collapsed. Like it just went it just went south. And I think she was there present at the party, and so she was really embarrassed. So you want to avoid that kind of thing. You want to avoid that kind of problem, and just don't allow anybody pressure you. Tell them as professionally as possible as you can that too many bills or too many notes will not work. It's not going to work. Explain to them as much as you can, and if they're not willing to comply at the end of the day, you just let it go. Because when it happens at the end of the day, what are they going to call? The baker. So please avoid the stress. A quick tip I would like to share is that you should try and deliver as early as possible, and ensure that the cake is balanced when you place it in the car. Mine was in front, but it wasn't okay. It wasn't leveled. I think it was slanted. I really can't remember, but there was something about the delivery that I think contributed as well. So please ensure that it's leveled. It sits this way. You can use something to ensure that it's balanced. Place something at the back of the cake box to ensure that it's balanced and that the person that is delivering drives carefully as well. Also try, if you can do that in the morning hours when there's no rush, when the weather is still cool, please, it will help you save some stress and avoid running into any trouble whatsoever, or reduce the risk to the barest minimum. So you don't want it to be delivered when the temperature is, when the sun is up, shining so hot, and there's traffic in town and everything. Okay, for those of us that stay here, please ensure that you set the cake, you send it out early enough, and then drive as carefully as possible, or instruct whoever is delivering the cake to drive as carefully as possible. I hope that these tips will be able to help you when it comes to making your first money cake. And if you cannot do it, it's okay to decline and be comfortable with doing it. It's okay to try, but if you know and then your mind is not really giving you that, you don't feel so confident doing it yet, then I would plead with you to maybe get the client to make another design or do something else, or wait to get better knowledge on how to make a money cake work before you go into it, so that you can avoid any issues with your clients at the end of the day. Please, if you found this video useful, do not forget to subscribe. Have you had any experience with money cake disaster, or anything happening? Please feel free to share in the comments and let me know. I'll be looking forward to reading your responses and also replying and giving advice as well. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, give this video a thumbs up, turn on notifications, and share this video with your friends to let them know what they should do before their first money cake. Until I see you in the next video, please stay happy, stay safe, and stay blessed.